So, Michelson Morley, Michelson Gale, Sangat experiment, Aries failure. If you're a scientist, of course, you'd know what I'm talking about, but many scientists don't because they weren't taught this. They're not very happy about not being taught this. And none of these people set out to uh, prove that the earth was flat. None of them. What they set out to do was to detect the motion of the earth. This is 2 centuries ago. This was in the 1800s. So Michelson Morley developed a device to detect the motion of the earth, and it did not detect any motion. Then there was Michelson Gale, there was the Sangat experiment, and then there was Aries failure. That's a very, very apt name to give the experiment, Aries failure. Why? Because it failed to do what it set out to do. It set out to detect the motion of the earth, and it failed to do so. So they called the experiment Aries failure, which means that he failed. So walk away from this. Don't even study this experiment. Walk away from it. This was a total failure. A failure? Yes, of course it was a failure. It failed to detect the motion of the earth. So, how do you detect motion? Well, you develop a device that will detect motion. Let me put it another way. How do you measure stationary? You develop a device that detects motion, and if it doesn't detect any motion, the fucking thing is stationary. Now, what I have here, look at this. Look at this, baby. What I have here is a San Francisco cops police radar detector gun, speed detector, okay? How does it work? Well, you point it at the car going down the road. Hey, sir, let's catch this guy. Sir, you were traveling at 1,120 miles per hour. No, 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 I wasn't. You forgot to measure in the motion of the Earth at spinning at 1,000 miles per hour. I was only doing 120 miles per hour. I wasn't doing 1,120 miles per hour. You forgot to measure in that I was traveling from west to east, you see, and east to west. Sorry, I can't even fucking remember what direction I was traveling in, but whatever direction I was traveling in, it you measured in the motion of the earth along with that. So how the fuck do you measure stationary? You develop a device which detects motion, and if it doesn't detect any motion, then the fucking thing is stationary. It's very simple. Yeah. So what I have here is this San Francisco cops police radar gun. Yeah. It's got like one, two switches on it. Look. And they use this to point at me and they say I'm doing 1,120 miles per hour. I'm not. I'm only doing 120 miles per hour. You fucked up. So what you do with this thing, with this device that you have developed to detect motion, there's all types of things that can detect motion. You have motion operated cameras. Then you get these things, right? So look at that car. Look at that car. How fast is it going right now? Have a guess. So let me take this San Francisco police officer's police radar gun and point it at the car. Point it at it. Okay, how fast are you going? It fucking says zero. Look, it's got a big zero on the back of it. Two zeros. You're not moving at all. So If you develop a device to detect motion and you point that device at an object, and that object is stationary, then it detects no motion. So if your car is parked on the side of the road, cop walks up to you and goes, "Hey, you're traveling at 1,000 miles per hour." No, asshole, you forgot to measure in the fucking earth movement once more. I wasn't doing any speed. I was sitting still. No, 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 no. My machine says you're doing 1,000 miles per hour. Yeah, well, you need to go and get that fucking thing calibrated. Because when you develop a device to detect motion and you use that device on an object, and that object is not moving, then it detects no motion. Fucking hey, this is still. This is sitting still. All right. So this is what Michelson Morley did. They weren't trying to prove the Earth was flat, or they weren't trying to prove anything. All they were doing was, look at that, Bordeaux Rouge. All that they were doing, and Bordeaux Vert, all that they were doing was developing a device to detect the motion of the Earth. And when they got this device and they kind of pointed it at the Earth to detect the Earth's motion, it detected no motion. So it was assumed that the Earth was stationary. They weren't even trying to think it was flat or it was level or it was a sphere suspended in impossible space, spinning at 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, orbiting the sun at 66,600 miles per hour. Sir, you were doing 66,600 and 120 miles per hour. No, I wasn't. You forgot you're calculating in the orbit of the Earth around the sun, and you added that to my speed. I'm going to contest this when we get to court, right? So, and you are following the sun at over 500,000 miles per hour, and the entire galaxy is moving sideways at 1.4 million miles per hour. Oh, excuse me, I was parked. Yeah, your special issue police radar detector needs to be fucking recalibrated, officer, because I was parked at the time. You pointed that uh, device at my vehicle, and my vehicle was stationary and it registered no movement. This is what Michelson Morley did. This is what Sangat did. This is what Aries did as well. They had the brains, the intelligence to develop a device that if the Earth was moving, that this device would detect its motion. They developed the device, they used it on the Earth, it came back motionless. So that was when Einstein, you know what Einstein means? Einstein means one stone. And let me add more to that. E equals mc squared means Einstein married his cousin twice. And there's a fucking fact for you. Yeah. I tell you, this Bordeaux Rouge is delicious. And so is this Bordeaux Green. Fucking delicious. It gets me in motion. I'm stationary and I'm also moving. If you've used Nicholson's Morley device on me right now, it confused the fuck out of you because I'm sitting in a chair doing fuck all, and at the same time, I am moving at fucking trillions of miles per second. In here, Yeah. So that's what happened. If you want to know whether something is moving or not, you develop a device which detects motion, and if it detects no motion, then the fucking thing that you're pointing it at is not moving. Now, do you believe for 1 second when you are watching a sunset on a beautiful evening that you are falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound? Think about it for a minute. If you just happened to be bred in another dimension and suddenly dropped here, right here in my field, looking up here at these trees, would you assume that you were stationary, or would you assume that you are falling over backwards, the sun is just going down faster than the speed of sound, spinning at 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, orbiting the sun at 66.6 thousand miles per hour, following the sun at 1.4 excuse me, million miles per hour? Who the fuck thought this shit up? Right, Copernicus, Galileo, all these people never existed. They never existed. You know why I know? Because the story about them that we are given has been given to us by a gang of people that have proven themselves to be the biggest liars the world has ever seen. Right? Are you getting this? This all came out of Rome. This all came out of Vatican, Holy Roman Empire, later on became Catholic Rome. Turned out to be the world's biggest liars ever. And yet they came up with these two guys that detected, they got a bit of bamboo and stuck a couple of fucking jam jar bottoms polished into it, and they could see the universe clearer than we can see it today. And they tell us, right, we're fucking moving at millions of miles per hour in fucking millions of different directions. Horse shit. Right? All you need is a device that detects motion. Police, San Francisco cops, police radar gun. And if that fucking thing does not detect motion, it's because the asshole is pointing it at a parked car. Right? So Michelson and Morley, Michelson, Gale, Sangat, Aries, all of them, they were pointing their device that detects motion at a stationary object. And that stationary object showed them that there was no motion. That fucked Einstein up, as I said. Einstein had to come up with the theory of relativity and dark matter. Oh, the universe is made up of 97% dark matter. Of course, you have to come up with something to fill in your hole and fill in your gap. People buy it. Okay, you lent me $100, remember? Yeah. What do you mean you don't remember lending me $100? You lent me $100 last week. I'm coming to pay you back. Oh, okay. Here's $3. What? $3. But you still owe me 97. Yeah, I'm going to give you 97 dark dollars, and then our debt is sealed. What? This is what they're fucking doing to us. They can't figure things out. Michelson, Morley, the rest of these experiments fucked them up so much that they had to come up with idiotic, stupid excuses for detecting no motion of the earth. Oh, everything is relative. Yeah, when you were born, you were traveling at 8 million miles per hour in 13 different directions. So right now, when you're at the age of fucking nearly 100, uh, you haven't been able to detect any motion because all your life everything was relative. It was the same. It was all, it was, if you were born in a motionless earth and then it took off, yeah, you'd feel it. But as it was moving already, then you're not going to feel it. Anyway, they expect us to buy this shit. People, you've got to fucking wake up. The number one biggest lie of all is that there is no creator. But they can't say that to you. After selling you bullshit Christianity and Islam and Judaism and fucking Buddhism and Hinduism, after selling you all this stuff, they can't turn around and say to you now, oh, there is no God, God doesn't exist. They won't tell you that lie directly. But to hide that lie, the next biggest lie is that 13.7 billion years ago, space terrorists fired a ball out of a cannon and you're fucking on it, right? So they're not going to turn around and say, there is no God. That would cause a revolution everywhere all over the world. So they can't say it to you directly. So indirectly, they come up with this lie made up by a French Jesuit priest called Father Georges Lemaitre, Père Georges Lemaitre. And he was a good friend of Albert Einstein, one stone, E equals MC squared. Einstein married his cousin twice, both of them together. When they came up with this Big Bang Theory, they were over the fucking moon. They've solved the issue of the Michelson-Morley experiment where no motion has been detected. They came up with this bullshit relativity. Everything is relative. So motion and you and your car going either west to east or east to west doesn't make any difference to anything because it's all relative. A theory of relativity. Theory of relativity. And the whole world is running on theories. The theory of relativity, the germ theory. You remember that from 4 years ago? It's all theory. This is their out. Hey, you fucked me up. You gave me tablets and I've got fucking 3. But I woke up this morning with 3 fucking things instead of 2. That's yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that, but yeah, relativity. Let me get back to relativity. They come up with this thing called contraction in the direction of motion, which means that as you're moving, as a train is moving down the track, it contracts in the direction of its motion. It becomes smaller as it moves along the surface of the earth. But if you bring in a ruler to measure it, you can't, because the ruler also becomes smaller in the direction of motion. So you cannot detect motion, you cannot feel motion, because whatever is being affected by motion, you are also being affected by that same motion and you don't detect it. So you just walk through life believing to yourself that you're a tiny speck of nothingness on a ball in the middle of an empty void universal space with billions and trillions and grillions and gorillions of zillions of other balls, and you are nothing, and you will not detect motion, you will not detect motion in the stars in the sky. When you look up into the stars in the sky at night, there is no parallax. No time ever did 2 stars ever cross one another, yet they want you to just simply believe that everything is so vast and so huge, and you are so small and so nothingness that you cannot detect motion of the earth. So, anyway, as I was saying earlier on, right, you come in from another dimension and you're just set here. What is your first impression? Someone asks you, are you flying at millions of miles per hour or are you sitting still? What do your senses tell you? Your senses will tell you that you're perfectly still, but they don't want you. They are, oh man, words just they are crazily adamant at forcing you to believe that you're in motion when you're stationary, forcing you to believe that you are the result of an explosion and that you are nothing, while the opposite is true. But to prove that the opposite is true, people have gone out and they've done experiments. And anyway, let's not get too philosophical. To get back to the experiments, they've gone out, they've done experiments with devices that they devised to detect motion, and those devices detected no motion. The earth is stationary, it does not rotate. And Officer Dribble from San Francisco Police, with his new police radar detector gun, he takes it out, it does the same fucking thing. If you point it at a stationary object, it will come back zero, no motion. Simple as that. Michelson Morley's fucking machine is no different than any other fucking device that you can develop to detect motion. It detected no motion. There is no motion. You are living on a stationary, non-rotating world that juts up out of an endless level ocean. Face it. Wake up. Stop believing all the lies and all the bullshit. I'm fucking a little bit too pissed and stoned to continue this conversation. Talk to y'all soon. Love you. Bye bye.